say thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Duru, for joining us today. And you have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you, Hollis. And I appreciate the opportunity to come in and just talk a little bit about myself and the resources that I have available for particularly women. I know that men are amongst us and we need to have resources available for everyone, but I particularly work with women. However, I do provide re- referrals for men. So I don't want to leave my brothers out if there's any men on this call, or if there are persons who have males that they need to provide assistance or support to. So again, thank you, Hollis. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself before I start talking about some resources and opportunities that may be available to help some of you or anyone that you know. So again, as as Hollis mentioned, I'm Dr. Tamisha Duru. So a little bit about my background. I am an ICF certified life coach, but my specialty is in mental mobility coaching. I particularly help women to live their life with purpose. I am a college professor. I'm a philanthropist, but equally important, my focus with mental health has been something that I pride myself on. So I have a few certifications, particularly that you see there on the screen, certified in QPR. That's the CPR of mental health. I am a mental health first aider, just meaning that I have been certified to be able to identify persons in immediate need of mental health care. So I am certified in that field. I also am the president of the WISE org, which is a nonprofit organization that I founded 4 years ago. The WISE org help women in need of mental wellness, in need of mental mobility. That's a term that I coined, mental mobility. And that's something that I promote in my life. I promote in all the avenues that I work within as a certified coach, as a college professor, as a mother, a significant other. I am all about mental mobility. My motto is what was will rise again, and will rise again better. I tell my students and my clients that mental health, mental wellness is a journey. It is not a destination. So don't feel ashamed, bad. Try to remove yourselves from stigmas that are associated with, having mental health disorders. Rather, it is depression, anxiety, PTSD, mood disorders, any of whatever the diagnosis could be, whether it is professionally diagnosed or not. The WISE org, going back to that, is a free resource to women, not just in the DMV, but we have just become a virtual nonprofit that serves women worldwide virtually. And our first virtual program will be in the new year, and that is as a result of this pandemic. So there are some great things that have come out of this unfortunate situation. So just going back a little bit about myself. Like I said, I help women to live their life with purpose, to regain their mental mobility, to become unstuck. And that word is a word that I use quite often because it is a common theme amongst women, particularly. And like I said, I work with women, so I'm not being biased here for any of my gentlemen or anyone else who are in need of services for men, but particularly for women to become unstuck. I help them to develop tools and techniques to combat mental health disorders in a non-clinical way. So I say that because we work non-clinical, meaning that this is all about developing the tools and techniques to focus on the mindfulness practices. So how can we use what we have on the inside of us to be able to control our mind so that we tell ourselves the truth about ourselves versus what sometimes our mind and the situations around us try and tell us, which causes us to be stuck and to have some of the challenges that we may find ourselves faced with. So one of the tools that I recently came up with, and this is one that I'm quite proud of, and it's something that I'd like to share with you today, and that is my latest project. And it's this book. I'm going to hold it up in hopes that you guys can see it here. But this is the book that I wrote and I launched a few months ago, just last September, and it's called Feeling Stuck. And when I mentioned to you that the word stuck is going to come into play throughout this conversation, is because this again is a common theme. Women that I've coached throughout the years said, Dr. Duru, I just don't know what I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I can't move forward. And I say, well, what does that look like? Well, I don't know what it looks like. I just feel stuck. I just feel like I can't figure it out. And so I coined and titled this word, that word in my latest book, Feeling Stuck. So this is seven steps to mental mobility, and it helps women to get unstuck. And that's the reason why I said the word stuck is going to come into this conversation quite often. And that mental mobility is that the term that I coined, because what I found is that women, particularly that I coach, needed the mobility mentally to become unstuck. With that, these seven steps are step-by-step guides that I worked with over a period of time, women that have proven to be successful. And it is a methodology that I put together and put all in this text. As you see, I have little tabs here because this is how much I work with women. And I explain to them, like, look, okay, first of all, this is a resource to help you, but you have what it takes to develop your mental mobility and help yourself. So this is just the tool that is used to help women to get unstuck. I'm going to point out a few things in this book as it relates to the 7 steps to mental mobility, because sometimes I get women say, well, what is mental mobility? And I talk about that here on page 3. It talks about mental mobility is the term that I coined when I first started coaching the clients that now embodies my life message. I define it as the consistent ability to make mindful and healthy decisions that are in alignment with your principles and your purpose. That's powerful, because a lot of times when we find ourselves being stuck, or when we're out of alignment, it's because we are or have done something that is not in alignment with our principles or our life purpose, our core value system. And when I ask that question, well, what are your core values? A lot of times that's a question that some can't answer, because it's not something that you're asked every day. Well, what are your core values? And I'm going to pause for a second and have each of you to just think about that question. If I ask you, what are your top 3 core values, what would they be? So I'm going to give just a few moments of silence. Think about what your core values are. Okay. So the reason why that's important is because that's not a typical everyday question that you're asked. In life, we get, what's your name? You can say what's your name. I can tell you my name like that. But prior to my focus on mental mobility or working with women in this field, I never thought about questions such as my core values. And I personally have had experiences with mental health disorders that were circumstantial, meaning that some situation happened and I found myself depressed, or I found myself stuck, or I found myself having anxiety, or I found myself really having PTSD, not knowing really what any of that was, and wondering, why am I feeling these ways, right? But when I drew back, as I became more educated in what my mental health situations, what my situations were, and how it connected to my mental health, I realized that those attributes of those mental health disorders were tied to my core value system, my principles. Something happened that were not aligned with my core values. And it shook me to a point where if I stayed in that situation, or if I did not remove it from my life, it caused me to feel anxious or feel depressed. So when I started working with other women, as I learned to move through my own bouts of mental health disorders, I noticed a theme, and the theme birthed what I now call my 7 steps to mental mobility. This is a methodology. Okay, so I know you can't see this, and I'm going to call certain steps out and talk a little bit about them. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's important. Okay, but these are the 7 steps to mental mobility. And again, I know you can't see them, but the first step is called design. And again, these are terms that I coined because what I found was, you might say, well, what is design? Well, what I found was that common themes were birthed out of people not designing relationships with other people. Again, you might, Dr. Tamisha, what does that mean? Well, when you come in contact with someone and you don't like how you feel about that person's way of them treating you, or there's something about their energy or the connection of that relationship, and it could be friends, it could be family, it could be coworkers, it could be your children, it could be anybody, but whatever the relationship dynamic is, it causes you to feel a certain way, and it's uncomfortable. What that discomfort leads to, if you don't deal with it, it leads to challenges mentally that we face that continue to perpetuate itself in our minds, that then trickle and lead into other things that we then have to deal with, that causes depression, causes anxiety. So when you design a relationship, it means that you're defining it. So I'm going to use Hollis as an example. If I am going to be in relationship with Hollis, and I cherish what partnership or relationship we have, I must be responsible for how I teach Hollis how to treat me. So what does that mean? I have to explain to Hollis, if there is something about our relationship that I don't like, it's my responsibility to explain to her not what she does that I don't like, but how I need to be treated so that I feel good about myself in this relationship. So the goal is not to try and change someone else. The goal is to teach people how you need to be treated so that you show up whole, that you show up full, that you show up well. Because if you're not being treated well, if you don't design that relationship, one, the person may never know, and two, you're not getting what you need out of that friendship, out of that relationship, out of that situationship, whatever it is, you don't get what you need. So it is imperative that you design the relationship. I'm going to give you an example of a design relationship that goes even down to my kids. Okay. I'm a mother of three. I held up two fingers. I said, I'm a mother of three. Look, I'm a mother of three. And I have twins that are 13. I have a singleton that is turning 12. And as any of us know, any of you know, we've been in quarantine, and even though the restrictions are lifted, I'm not, we're look, Miss COVID is alive and well. We are not going out just because Governor Hogan said you can. So we continue to be in. I told my kids, you might as well say 2020 is a wash until there's a vaccine, and Trump took it himself and he lived for months after. We're not doing anything. So I'm gonna put a deck on the back of the house, and then we can go out on the deck and get some food and some music, and we're going to live our life and be a family. So, and be alive, okay? And we're going to work on this mental health thing while we're going through it. Now, this week, it seemed like there was everything under the sun going on. And I mean, between appointments that had been canceled, that we were trying to find ways to get back on schedule because we needed to have these appointments, to how do we get out of the house as a family, maneuver through, stay 6 feet away, have this mask, spray cleaned, all of this stuff, just everything. So what I started doing unconsciously, I digress, give me a few seconds, I'll get back to the design. But what I started doing unconsciously was leaving the kids, because I felt like it was easier. Well, I'll be back. If it ain't have anything to do with them, I'll be back real quick, right? But then I realized toward the end of the week, my baby's been in the house all day. Now, granted, I have too, but I understand that there is some sort of outlet in what I do virtually, or what I'm doing with my significant other, or what I'm doing as I'm talking on the phone, or what I'm doing for work. Even though it's not the outlets that we naturally are normally accustomed to, it's still an outlet while these babies are in the house watching TV on their cell phone. And I said, that's not healthy. So I intentionally took a page out of my own book, because it's easier to teach than it is to follow, right? So I said, okay, well, Misha, you need to practice what you preach and design this relationship so that not only as their mother, but as their coach, you teach them what is important so that they maintain good mental health, right? So I said, okay, well, kids, here's what we're going to do. That is not typical. We're not going to, because we are in the house, I get it. We're going to do things as a family. And here's how I need you to help me. I need you to come up with a day that you will be responsible for, where you design how we're going to maneuver through the day as a family. And it could be for a 2 or 3 hour period. So are we going to take a walk on your day? Are we going to play a game on your day? Whatever that it is, I want you to come up with it. And so, and psychologically, I'm empowering them to be responsible, but I'm also teaching them how I need them to help me before, and they don't even know it. It's like a subconscious, a subliminal thing, because I need that more than they know that I need it, because I need them to help me help them. So when you are in any kind of relationship, again, if relationships, that word is so misinterpreted. It's not like I'm always talking about intimate, significant boyfriend, girl. Relationship could be anyone that you're connected to. Okay. So it's important that we design it, and the design doesn't always happen and stay that way. The design continuously change. What I need from Hollis today may not be what I need from her next year. Okay. So how you design that determines what you get out of it for you, that helps you to continue to feel good about yourself. Because had I not redesigned that part of the relationship with my daughters, I would feel horrible as a mom. You know, that mommy guilt starts to kick in when you start feeling like, oh my God, I'm not paying them attention. They've been in the house all week. My poor baby's not, you know. So that psychological effect that it will have on me, and that's the important part of the design. So hopefully, again, you remember the importance of defining the relationship. Designing also, a component of the design also includes a commitment of being all in. So any relationship that I'm in, I ask for full commitment. If we're going to be friends, I need to know what that means to you, because my definition of a friendship might be different from yours. So that's important. But then what you need from me may be different from what I need from you. So again, that's why the design is imperative. The second methodology step is to define. Again, so my design goes into define. Now, defining doesn't always, it's not connected to the person that you are in relationship with. The defining, remember, this is about you, the 7 steps to your mental mobility. So the defining is about, what is it that's going on in my mind? Let me define it. Let me call it out. What saboteurs are controlling the way that I think, that's producing the outcomes of these mental health disorders? So identifying your saboteur. And if you've never heard of what saboteur, the term saboteur is simply those little thoughts that come in the back of your mind, your head. Sometimes if you could be doing something and you start telling yourself, you hearing yourself say, I could have did better. Or, I'm not tall enough. I'm not skinny enough. My butt ain't big enough. Whatever it is, because, as women, we can tell ourselves so many things about us that will have us feeling like we are just not even meant to be here, ain't made properly. Those are saboteurs. They come in your headspace to sabotage who you are. You're perfect. Nothing's wrong with us. It's okay to not be okay. We're going to have those moments, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong. So now with the step 2 of the mental mobility methodology, it is to define your saboteur and to define your sage. So now we know what a saboteur is. What is a sage? Well, a sage is that thing that you call upon that reminds you that I am beautiful. I am perfect. I am wonderfully made. I am amazing. I don't care what nobody say. And then when that saboteur come in your head, you remind yourself, girl, I got this. Get saboteur, define it, name it. So when you name it, that sage reminds you, I'm good. I got this. Okay. Step 2. Step 3 of your mental mobility methodology is to unpack. What is unpack? Well, value mind, create a life bridge, a life assess, unpack all of that stuff that you have had in your life for all them years that has taught you wrong about you, that causes you to be stuck. Unpack. Where is it coming from? You might say, okay, I've had some clients like, I can't seem to keep a man. It ain't that. It's not, that's not, wait, that's unpack. That's not what it is. And it's not, that is you. Is that you have not unpacked the core. And the core could be daddy issues. It could be that perhaps you should chill for a minute on this thing called being with somebody else. Be with yourself for a second, boo. You know, help you, right? And that's the definite. And so I work with, in the process of helping to become unstuck, is women helping to unpack. Let's get down to the bones, and let's cry the ugly cry. Let's get this thing up and out so that we can truly start healing and help to move through the process of what is necessary for you to show up whole. Then when that brother, that sister, that other, whatever the preference is, show up in your life, you whole, you well. Because let me tell you, hurt people, and pain recognize pain. And when two hurt people come together, all you're doing is just hurting each other, trying to stay together. They ain't unpack nothing. Everybody got issues from their childhood. He got mama issues, you got daddy issues, trying to be together. Okay? So that's that particular topic as it relates to unpacking. Okay? Step 4, accepting. Like, look, it took me a while before I was able to say, I'm not okay, y'all. I'm sorry, I'm hurt. I don't feel well. My mind can't stop racing. And quite frankly, I'm not feeling that great about myself right now. And I'm talking about with all the accolades and all the, and see, one of my personal issues was and still is to a degree, overachiever. Because guess what? As a kid, my mama had me in everything. And my daddy always told me that I was perfect. And I believe that. And to a degree, I still do. But what I realize is that I am perfectly imperfect. What I didn't understand was that perfect doesn't exist. So when I got in life and life happened, if things didn't go what I defined as perfect, I didn't know how to handle it. I was like, what? What you mean? I ain't getting in. I applied for that school. I did this. I didn't. I wrote that paper. What do you mean? Could not accept it. Relationships? What you mean we not gonna be together? I know, best thing that ever happened to you. What you mean? I know, you know, all of that and then some, you know, believing that nothing, my poop didn't stink. Okay. But I had to accept the fact that you are perfect, just perfectly imperfect. And all the mistakes are perfect. It teaches you how to be more of who God has called you to be. So I realized that while I was over there crying about why something was happening to me, it was happening for me. Because God was birthing stuff like this out of me. God was birthing the nonprofit that helps thousands of women in the DMV, and now we're about virtually as a result of Miss COVID. Because now that she done came about, ain't nobody trying to be holding hands and stuff. Now we got to be on Zoom. But guess what? We can now be anywhere in the world and help anybody in the world. All you need is a cell phone or a computer and high-speed internet or Wi-Fi. So it wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me. He was birthing me. So that's what I tell my clients. He birthing you. Accept the fact that you are who you are, imperfectly imperfect. There is somebody that appreciates you for exactly who you are. Exactly who you are. Now, am I saying you don't work to improve upon yourself? No. We all need to improve and be better. But that doesn't mean change in the way that you are not who you have been called to be. So when in methodology 4, it talks about name it to claim it. Okay. So when you name it, you claim it, you can put a name to it. And I always say, okay, well, my clients, what does that mean, Dr. Duru? Well, do you think you better than other people? They say no, because it comes with a negative connotation. And then I go, well, wait a minute, hold on. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with if you do? Because the way that you've handled these situations that you've explained to me, it comes with this entitlement or this sense of, why do you think that you should have, this or that, and because these are some of the common factors when I'm coaching. And then the clients will say, well, maybe I do, because I feel like I deserve better. And I said, well, then name it. Call yourself Queen Hollis. And then they're like, okay. Claim it. Name it. Be who you have been called to be, so that you start to discover the why. Because once you name it and you claim it and you discover the why, I guarantee it's tied to your core values, right? It's tied to your core values. And whatever you have been dealing with that has produced these mental immobilities is because you're not aligned with the core values and the principles for who you really are. It's all interrelated. Once you operate in that space, you will forever be fulfilled, and you will no longer be able to tolerate anything or anyone that is not aligned with your core values. So number 5, we were on number 4. Number 5 is interrupt. And I'm going to temporarily interrupt because I've been talking and I need a drink of water. So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to interrupt and come right back. Okay. All right. So I am on number 5, interrupt. Interrupt is that methodology where we start to fast, okay? We are breaking the negative cycle. And I have put clients on programs in this step. This is one of the steps that, believe it or not, some have found to be very difficult, but once they got through it, have appreciated it. And I haven't done I have done all of this. I have not completed my own process. That's what this is birthed out of, my own experiences, and then me helping other people. So interrupt, and I'll share with my own experience. I remember I was in a stuck place, in that sunken place, and relationship, didn't want to know. I didn't know if, look, I couldn't figure out how to move forward, move backwards, go up, down, left or right. But what I decided was I was going to fast, interrupt my own ways of being. And I was no longer going to focus on dating. I was no longer going to focus on new relationships. And again, relationships can be any kind, not just with male or female, any relationship. I'm on with Hollis now. Oh. You want to say hello?
Hey.
This my relationship, y'all. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
He interrupt. We're on that too. He didn't mean to interrupt. He interrupting. Right. We having one. Okay. So, fasting a relationship. So for me, mine was an intimate relationship that I was in that ended, that I wasn't very happy about. And I got to a place where I said, okay, God, I'm going to focus on me and getting me to a place where I am whole before I allow anyone to enter my life. And I'm talking about anybody, whatever new relationship, any friendships, I just focused on me. And so I stayed in that state of breaking the cycle. And whenever I wanted to go out or do anything, because I defined what that interrupt would look like, I didn't do it because I had made a commitment and I stayed in that interrupt. And from that interrupt, the sixth step is transform. The transformation happened. From interrupt to transformation, it happened naturally. Because believe it or not, we are more creatures of habit than we may give ourselves credit. And when we transform out of that interrupt state, it is a space that, because the interrupt step is so difficult, because again, it depends on the amount of time. Once you make that commitment, whatever that time commitment is, you stick with it. It could be tough. It could be challenging. But when you get through it, I'm going to tell you, you make a commitment to yourself that anybody come into your life that is not aligned with your core values, you're like, no, ma'am, no, sir. I worked too hard to get to this point of peace, to get to where I need to be, than to let anybody come in and disrupt that. So that transformation happened in that. And that is also followed up with a self-assessment after 90 days. So I'll contact my clients, we do a self-assessment. And then a 7th step to mental mobility, I'll close here and then open up for any questions or conversations, is expand. And expand is my step where you literally, I have my clients start to expand now, walk in your purpose. And I told you in the very beginning that my motto is what was will rise again better. Now it's time that I push you out of the nest and you fly and rise again better. And again, this may sound so simple, but it is not. It can be simple, but it isn't always simple. The process to move through the 7 steps of mental mobility, I just talked about briefly, sharing some small details of experiences, rather in my own life or in my clients' experiences. And, it's so much more to it than just that, but that's the crust of it. It is powerful in that we take control over our mental health and our mental wellness, and to try to do so without clinical assistance, without any medication, if possible. And again, let me put this disclaimer out there. I'm not anti-medication. I'm not speaking down on anything. I'm just saying that if you can help yourself without swallowing the pill, then try to do so, because that in and of itself is the power that you have within you that you're going to need to continue to move forward in life, because life doesn't just stop. And it can get difficult, and things happen that can cause you to go back to that state of depression or anxiety. Remember, I said in the very beginning that mental wellness is a journey. It's not a destination. So when you get there, you have to work to stay there. And this tool, this resource, this book helps women to move through that process, and it reminds us how to move through that process. And in the event that anyone who need any support, you know, the book, I saw Hollis pull up my website. The book is available. It's available in the ebook. I even made it in the ebook. Miss COVID had that come to my mind, because at first I had these tangible copies, and then I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and make it an ebook so that folks can have it at their fingertips on their computer. But I also work with women who decide, well, you know what, I don't want to read the book. You know, I want to work one-on-one with someone. So, you know, I'm available for anybody to book an appointment, you know, to work directly with them as they move through the process, or if they want to go through the process on their own and get the book, they can. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I thank you for listening for 40 minutes of me just talk, maybe 45. And I'm open to having Q&A at this point, if that's okay with Hollis, if that's what you want. And I'll hand it back over to Hollis to facilitate Q&A, or we can just candidly speak from here. Okay, so I see some questions here. Let me go in the chat. And I have not been following the chat. So if you have a question, you can just, is it okay so that for the sake of time, you just unmute and ask, and we talk that way? Does that work for everyone? Is that okay with you, Hollis?
So I will unmute them by raising their hand, because what we don't want is all the feedback in their background.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But there are a couple of questions, and one of them you did answer. The question was, where can we get the book? So if you can just kind of tell us that again, where we can get the book in case someone missed it. And then there is another question as well.
So the book is available on my website, drtamisha.com. You know, you see the name spelled that way, or Hollis is pulling it up. Thank you. Or you can get the book off of Amazon. If you want the e-copy, it's on Amazon. And that all you have to do is just literally do a search for Dr. Tamisha or Tamisha, and it'll come right on up. And you will see my first book that I wrote, which is called I Suffered in Silence. And then you'll see this book, Feeling Stuck, that will be available on Amazon as well.
So next question is, if you're on medication and you want to try to challenge yourself without the pill, would we be unable to do so?
Let me tell you, I would recommend that you consult your physician and have your physician to help you to, you know, wean off it, whatever, you know, the recommendation would be, and to have your physician to give you the proper, I guess, guidance on moving through that process. Because one of the things I don't want for anyone to leave this presentation with is a false sense of security, in that the book is going to replace some medication that you perhaps have been on, and that is regulating in whatever your you know, situation is. No. If you've been on it, continue to take it and use follow your doctor's orders. And the book is a supplement to you being able to learn how to manage your mental health in a non-clinical way. So work with your physician. And we have worked with clients who have been interested in weaning off of medication. and, work one-on-one with them through our nonprofit and their psychologists to try to get them supported in that way. But to just answer it in a more frank response, I'll say consult your physician.
Thank you, Dr. Duru. So would you also say that would be the answer to whether or not it would be a good idea to challenge ourselves? Or do you think that we should still, even though we consult our physicians, should we still challenge ourselves as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have what it takes. We have everything in us. The word genius, that gene in us, we have it in us to maneuver through. It's just that sometimes life has a way of knocking you down. And when you don't have the proper support and the resources, you resort to the only things you do know. And that's if you went to somebody and they offered you a prescription, and that depends on the situation. One size doesn't fit all. And you took it and it calmed you down. I'm gonna tell you, I went to a psychiatrist one time, and he specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy because I felt like my life was upside down, and at that time, I believed it was. And I found him. I was referred to him from the hospital. I went to the hospital. I felt like I was going crazy. Like something's going on with me, and I need some help. And the first thing they did in the hospital was gave me a pill. And I remember I'd never, ever, ever been on medication. And I remember taking the pill because I felt like my mind was racing. And again, it came as a result of a situation that happened in my life that I was so overwhelmed by. And I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody too. So I just thought it would be better for me to talk to people I didn't know. So when I went to the professionals, that was the first thing they did. They gave me a pill. Well, this to help calm you down. And it did. I was so calm. I ain't have a problem in the world after that pill kicked in. And then I realized, good gracious, how am I going to get anything done if I'm so chilled out? I was so like, you know what, whatever. Whatever happened in life is life. And then I was like, yeah, I got 3 kids, okay, I got things to do. I cannot take something that has me out like this. And it's going to probably cause me more problems than the problem that I have. So they refer me to a cognitive behavior therapist. And it was a Black man in Annapolis. I remember going to him and I said, the hospital gave me this pill and it calmed me down and I think I like it. And he said, no, you don't. And I said, why? He said, because you ain't gonna do nothing but get hooked on it and you ain't gonna be able to control any of your emotions as it relates to how you feel. You'll be dependent upon it. Don't start it. You got to go through it. The key word is through. This too shall pass. He said, you ain't the first and you won't be the last. Get your head together and get through it and you'll be fine. And I looked at him, I said, I'll be damned. Okay. And I did. And I have never, again, I'm not anti do what you got to do if that's what you're on. That's not what this is about. I'm not bashing, judging, anyone or the need of, clinical care. I'm not. I'm just saying that for me, I was able to not have to take it and went through it. And it was painful. Oh, I cried. There were times where I was mad at God in my pillow, crying, the ugly cry, screaming when the kids leave because I ain't want them to hear me. I ain't want them to see me. Oh, I was pissed. But I got through it. And I got through it without any of the, things that would have just masked it. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Duru. Have another question here. If you're already in a relationship or a friendship, how do you backtrack to teach someone how to treat you?
You design. And so remember, I already had children. They're 13 and 12. But I realized last week, because I felt like I neglected them. I felt bad, because of everything that I had going on with all these Zoom calls. See, that's the one thing about technology. I feel like I work more at home than I did when I was at work. So with all of this stuff that, is available and going on, I feel like I really just failed as a mother last week. I don't think I even cooked dinner. I was like, well, the pizza in there heated up because I'm just going, on these calls and different things to do. And so, these kids, they hear me. I feel like they hear me, but I sent them a text message. I'm not lying. All three of them in a group text. And it said, here is how I would like for us to move forward. I love each of you. I don't want for any of you to have any issues mentally, physically, emotionally. And I want to ensure your health. Staying in the house for 7 days is not healthy. We can find ways to enjoy each other. And I would like to have you identify a day, and that day is your day, where you determine for however many hours what we're going to do as a family. So in essence, I redesigned that relationship, that partnership that I have with my kids to help empower me. Otherwise, I would feel horrible. And then I put them in position that empowered them to believe that their input, in which I do want them to feel that, but their input, they had a part in that process. So that's the same difference in your relationship with your significant other or anyone else. You have that conversation and you say, Hollis, you know what? You are amazing and I appreciate what you're doing. But tell me, what is it in our relationship that you need from me? It's rhetorical. I'm just giving you this example. I mean, the amazingness and everything, that's true. Okay. So giving you this as an example. And so as Hollis is talking about it, and she starts to tell you, well, I like how things are, or, I need a little bit more of this. And then you go, oh, okay, that's good. I definitely want to be there and show up for you the way that you need. Do you mind if I share with you some things that will help you to, show up a little bit better for me? And then it's like, okay, so what would be awesome? I really like when you do this, but I love it if you did that. That's the psychology behind designing the relationship. Not, okay, so here how I want you to treat me, okay? This how this what we not going to do, right? This what we not going to do. That's not, that people will have a wall, get defensive, but, starting with all the good things, and, asking the questions, how can I show up better for you? How can I be the kind of friend that you need? And have I been that? What about me that you would like to, see more of or be different? That gives you the insight from that person's perspective because they are important to you. And then you ask them, well, do you mind if I give you some things about, that I would love to see, from you? 9 times out of 10, they're like, okay, yeah, that's the design. That's the start of it.
That is wonderful. But can I tell you what I need from you, though, Dr. Duru? I need for us to have more conversations. I need for us to, I would love for us to get to know each other a little better, because there is a wealth of knowledge there that I can really, really learn and just be empowered by. So thank you for asking me what you could do for me. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. So these are some of the things that we do. I work with my clients with. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I saw the comment. These are some of the things that I work with my clients with. We do this individually. Sometimes we have groups. And, you know, this is just a snippet of what is in the book and how we maneuver through to gain mental mobility. I mean, we're more alike than we're different. Everybody has problems. Nobody's perfect. But it's okay to be exactly who you are, imperfectly imperfect. You know, that's fine. Yeah, oh, she loud. Okay, that's fine. That's who she is. Oh, it is that. That's okay. Love her still. Let's move through it. Focus on solutions. What we need to do. Okay. All right. Any other questions? It's a quiet group, Hollis.
In case you guys didn't see the one comment, it said you are beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm gonna tell you, I gained 4 pounds. Miss COVID, me and her. I'm just trying to stay away from her, right? I'm trying to stay away from her. I don't want her come near me and mine. But let me tell you, she got some residual effects on me that I'm trying to get off. But thank you. 4 pounds up. Got to get them down.
If you guys,
that's a whole nother topic.
If you guys ever actually really see her, you won't even know there's 4 pounds there. Trust me. She is amazing.
Thank you.
So someone else has also said, thank you. So informative. So, if there are no other questions, Dr. Duru, thank you again so much for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. So much information. It was great. Can you give us one more time as we close out, just the 7 steps? Just give us the 7 steps again.
You know what? I would like to offer something a little different. Okay, do you mind, Hollis? Marie. Unmute Marie. Miss Marie, give me one step or one thing, one takeaway from today's presentation.
I like the one about design.
Design.
Yes, something I have to get used to, of wanting to, you know, tell my friend or whoever it may be in relationship, you know, speak to them and say, hey, this is what, you know, trying to get them to treat me the way I want to be treated. That was a thing that I enjoyed, and I appreciate that. It was really, really informative, and something different to look in a different direction. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. That's good stuff.
Thank you, Marie. All right, so I'm gonna call on Hollis under Hollis.
Hollis 2.
Hollis 2.0.
So because she's in the room with me, if she unmutes herself, it's going to give that feedback. But what is your word?
I'll say I do agree with Miss Marie that design, but also realizing what your core values are, because that is a question that I've actually had someone ask me that before, but I still never really thought about it. But knowing what your core values are would be the great stepping stone to be able to design a relationship. So.
Yes. Yeah. You got to start there before you even design. You got to know who you are.
Right.
I mean, like, you know, hello. You know, in them relationships, you wondering why things don't work out because you got somebody that doesn't really align with who you really are, because you don't know. You know, like that's the start. Yes, ma'am. Hollis 2.0. I feel you. Let me try one of the on the phones. Mama's Pad. Who's Mama's Pad? Hollis, you know who that is? No, Lisa Hayward. I'm going to call them out. They like, wait, man, hold on. I ain't signed up to have to speak. I just was going to listen. Felipe, no. She said, like this. I ain't going to speak. They shy? How they going to not speak? Just come on and listen. Getting all this good old information, ain't gonna say nothing. She said, I got the thumbs up. Luella. Is that right? Neil, Miss Neil. So how we know if they trying to talk, if they mute it? Okay, so what we're gonna do is the next time we have a session, the prerequisite is for your camera to be on, and then we starting with Miss Felipe. Sorry, okay. All right, so let me go ahead and stop. Now, all right, the 7 steps, as Hollis asked me to do, is to reiterate them. Was that somebody talking?
Yes, this is Lisa. I was finally allowed to unmute.
Y'all couldn't unmute because Miss Hollis
was unmuting. Right.
There you go. Miss Lisa, tell me, what's one takeaway?
One takeaway is that I am awesome for me.
I know that's right. Say it again for the people in the back.
As a Virgo, you know, I kind of figured that anyway, but the confirmation was really good. And I've enjoyed your presentation and the way you presented the information. Very nice.
Thank you, Miss Awesome Lisa. Look, we talked about name it, right? Name it, claim it, name it. If you tell yourself that and you believe it, you will be it. You are it. So I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you. Anybody else trying to talk that can't talk? We wouldn't know, huh? All right. Okay. I can't hear you, Hollis, but your mouth is moving. Are you talking to me?
Yeah. If they're on a phone or something or have muted themselves, it's not allowing me to unmute them. I can hit, like I have unmuted everybody on my end, but those that are not showing themselves have to unmute themselves on their end.
No problem. So look at Danielle. Hey, girl. She came through at the end. She come through when it's time to go. Is she trying to talk?
I have everybody unmuted.
Danielle needs to unmute.
She's trying to talk.
She has unmuted.
Hit your mute button. There's a mute button. Hit it.
She may have logged in without audio.
She's on her iPhone.
Gotta be auto. She's on.
Danielle, type it in the text. Type it in the chat. While she's typing, I'm gonna tell Miss Felipe, my mama did the same thing. I tried to say, Mom, come up and talk. She said, I said, you gonna say something. Danielle said, I'm trying to unmute, but it won't allow me unless someone unmute me. Okay, so that was the same problem I think Lisa had. Okay.
Type of question.
So, Danielle, do you want to type a question or your comment, your takeaway? She's typing now, I believe. Press enter some so we can read while you're still typing. There we go. Wait, I really think you did a wonderful job, and this really inspired me. I learned a lot from you. Oh, Danielle, thank you. That was too sweet. I appreciate it. And I really have been inspired by each of you. And I mean that because when you walk in your purpose, you get more and more empowered each day. So this was just me doing what God has called me to do and sharing the gift that He has given me. And that is to be able to use what I have learned out of pain to help someone else to grow in whatever God has purpose for them, as I've discovered in my own life. So, in closing, make sure that you design, define, unpack, accept, interrupt, transform, and then expand, grow on and grow forward, and become unstuck in every area of your life. Thank you again, Ms. Hollis, for having me. It was a pleasure meeting each of you virtually, and I hope to one day see and chat with you again soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
God bless.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again, Dr. Tamisha Duru, for speaking with us today. Just want to remind you all, thank you guys all for joining us. And also next week, same place, same time, we're going to have Miss Neal with us, and she is going to be talking about how to shift your income. We do understand that there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be going back to work on their old job. I'm going to call it their old job, their previous job, because not all of those jobs are going to be available. So Miss Neal is going to talk to us about the shift, how to make some money in a different kind of way than what you're normally used to. So look forward to hearing from her next week. Again, Miss Neal is going to speak with us. Same place, same time, same bat channel. So thank you again. Operation Care, love you guys. Be blessed.
Thank you. You be blessed as well.